Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about this very unexciting rumor about the next Nintendo Direct. So right out of the gate, I'll just let you know that I had planned on being on camera for my next video about the next Nintendo Direct and conversations about that, which of course is what today's video is about. But if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know I've been pretty sick with the you-know-what. Unfortunately, that is something that happened to me this prior week, and it's been pretty bad. I'm definitely on the upswing, and with this news this morning, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm ready to get on camera or make a video, but I think I maybe feel good enough to at least do a voice-only video. So that's what we're doing. I'm not on camera, but I really do want to talk about this news because, like I said, I already was planning on making my next video about what might happen with this next Direct and if it would happen on June 29th, as the previous reports and rumors have said. And then this news that came out this morning kind of became a whole nother thing that potentially changes what that could look like. And so I knew it was worth it for me to just kind of suck it up and turn my microphone on and just make this conversation because I have a lot to say. So there's really a lot that feeds into this conversation, as I'm sure many of you guys know, because we have been waiting for the next traditional Nintendo Direct for a while. Now, just this past week, only a few days ago, Nintendo did surprise us with a pretty awesome 20-minute Direct focused solely on Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And while I am not a big RPG or a big JRPG fan, as most of you know, I do actually love the Xenoblade games. I don't know why those games just really work for me. And I am incredibly excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So when that was announced, yes, like many people, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't a traditional Direct. But honestly, because it's a game I was excited for, I was still stoked to see it happening. And I watched it, and it was good. It told me more about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is a game I'm stoked for. So I was satisfied with it in its own bubble, right? As something that's just a 20-minute presentation about a game I'm excited for. I thought it was really great. But it did get a lot of people talking about how this might impact the next traditional Direct. Because as I hinted at here in the beginning of this video, there was the rumor that was, quote-unquote started by Alana Pierce a few weeks ago when she mentioned that she heard June 29th, which is only a few days from now, is the next date for the actual traditional Direct. And so with Xenoblade Chronicles having a Direct, was that impacting this concept of a June 29th regular Direct? Would Nintendo put two Directs right next to each other? One about Xenoblade in 1 week, and then only a week later do one that's a traditional full Direct. It seemed weird. It didn't seem impossible. People have been on both sides of believing what would happen there. And then we get this morning's rumor that changes the whole makeup of what the next Direct might actually be. Before we dive any deeper into the Nintendo Direct topic, I'd like to remind you guys I'm always trying to grow the channel here on Rule of Two Review, even as I talk to you. Sick as a dog today. I'm still trying to grow this channel. I am very close to 20,000 subscribers. I upload every single week, and I talk about all things Nintendo and all things gaming. So as you watch this video, if you seem to like what I'm doing and you feel bad for me because I'm recording while under the weather, then I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel. So where to really start with this thing, man? My opinions have kind of shifted a little bit since the Xenoblade Chronicles Direct was announced, and now it's shifting even more with what's going on. So I think before I share what I maybe expected with this June 29th Direct and if it would or wouldn't happen, it's probably best if we actually just cover what happened this morning and this thing that's kind of going on around right now. And it has to do with an article from VGC, Video Games Chronicle. And they basically have translated a Spanish Twitch streamer who works for a Spanish video game magazine. And this person, whether we believe this or not, this is completely rumor territory. I don't think I've actually driven that home yet in this video yet. So let me just say right now, this is just rumor territory. And while I've gotten less and less interested in talking about unfounded feeling rumors in the past maybe year or two on the channel, this one, there's an interesting element to it, and there's, I think, enough reason to think it might happen that I wanted to talk about it in a video. So, but, this could be wrong. We don't know really this person from anything, and anyone could be right or wrong in these kinds of situations. So we don't know it's fact. But the rumor that VGC is reporting is that this person said on a Twitch stream that they heard the next Nintendo Direct is going to be a partner presentation. Yeah, remember the partner presentations from the pandemic? Like, I guess you could say they were better than nothing. In fact, I will just say they were better than nothing. I don't want to be a super downer guy, but let's be real, man. Those things were not awesome. Very few people were satisfied with almost anything that came out of it. I think other than the first full trailer for Shin Megami Tensei 5, I don't think anything exciting came out of any of those things, man. It was a weird experiment. Pandemic year, man, so, you got to give it to them. At least they tried something, I guess, and it was a chance for third parties to get their information out. But boy, they just really didn't get the job done for most of us. They didn't get the job done for me. I wasn't really a huge fan of how those whole things played out. And so to suddenly hear from this person that might be what Nintendo is going to do in June after giving us a Xenoblade Direct, after this is the E3 month that they were otherwise probably going to give us a bunch of normal huge announcements, after Microsoft and Capcom and Square and Summer Games Fest happened and had a bunch of really big exciting things, Nintendo's answer would be a partner presentation? Like, I mean, it's not a non-pandemic year. Like, we're obviously still technically kind of dealing with the whole thing. I mean, hello. Like I said in the beginning here, I am literally dealing with it right now while recording this video. So talk about irony, right? But at the same time, we're basically like getting out of this thing, right? And so it's not like we're totally done with it, but it's not like the same anyway. And so why would they do a partner presentation in June, in the last week of the month, to respond to everyone else's big summer E3 announcements? It just really wouldn't make a lot of sense, and I think it would be kind of a bad move. But I'm kind of I'm burying the lead big time here, so forgive me, guys. Here's what VGC said in their translation, and here's what this streamer actually said. The Nintendo Direct, expected to take place next week, will reportedly focus on third-party games. That's according to experienced journalist Nacho Requena, editor of Spanish Games magazine Manual, who told viewers during a Twitch stream on Friday that he'd been told to expect new announcements from major publishers. We should have a Nintendo Direct this coming Tuesday, Requena said during the live stream. This will be mainly focused on third-party games, that's what I've been told to expect. I've also been told that some Persona game will be present, though I don't know which game. I've also been told there will be another game that has been available for some time on other platforms. It's been available for 4 years now. So that's VGC's interpretation and translation of what this person said, and it does sound like some kind of Nintendo Direct, and the focus will be third-party games. Now here's where things get a little bit more interesting, because again, we don't really know how much to believe or not believe this person or what's going on here. It could be legit, but it could not be. But then we have that article quote tweeted by Nate the Hate. A lot of you guys know Nate, and he's been fairly knowledgeable about things, and I've been on many podcasts with the guy before, and so I tend to trust things that he tends to believe. No one has a perfect track record, and I think it's worth pointing that out, but his quote tweet to me definitely holds some weight, and it's worth noting that what he says is this: to my understanding, it's a direct mini partner, and its main focus will be third party, but that doesn't mean Nintendo will have no presence. They've had some presence in prior partners, just in a limited capacity. So what he's saying is, yes, it's going to be a third party focused Direct, and he's using the moniker of partner. He says Nintendo Direct Mini Partner, and I believe the full names for those things were Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Presentations. So Direct Mini Partner. Those were like the key words, right, that were included in all of those things, and that is what Nate is including and what he is claiming he might know. And so, some people are trying to say, Nate's been changing what he's been saying. Like, he already was claiming it was going to be a regular Direct and recorded a predictions podcast that hasn't been released yet, and suddenly, he's jumping on board with this. I don't really know what that means other than, like I said, I've definitely trusted most of what I've heard from Nate in the past and what he said publicly in the past. And things sometimes change, so it just is what it is, man. I don't really know whether or not we should believe this, but I just find it all very interesting, and I'll be honest, I'm a little concerned that Nintendo might actually be doing this. Just an underwhelming third-party partner presentation to follow up Xenoblade, which is following up, again, Microsoft Show and Summer Games Fest and Capcom and Square, which all had varying degrees of good shows, if I'm being honest. And it's like, I'm worried Nintendo is going to mess this up, man. And as much as they do a lot of things right in the Switch era, they do a lot of things wrong. And I think that this has a chance at going sideways. I think this also brings me back to the prior theory of the June 29th Nintendo Direct just being a regular Direct. And how after Xenoblade Chronicles' Direct was announced, a lot of people still felt like, hey, Nintendo could just have a Direct 2 weeks in a row. It's not impossible. It's happened before, yada, yada, yada. And I understand that line of thinking, and I do think that maybe that could be true, but I will say that even before this was announced, I was 50-50 on the June 29th thing once Xenoblade was announced. I was definitely believing it before Xenoblade was announced. Once it was announced, I was like, man, would they really do 2 Directs in a row? I mean, I guess it's possible, but I became way less sure. The announcement of Xenoblade's Direct definitely made me less sure about the June 29th or the late June traditional Nintendo Direct. Suddenly, I wasn't 100% sure. I never like let go of it completely. I basically was really open and excited to see what was going to happen this coming week and hope that it was going to happen. But I really couldn't say one way or another because Xenoblade to me really shook things up. If they weren't going to hold a June 29th Direct, my only thinking would be that they would have to still do one in July, right? I mean, in the post-severe pandemic era, which we all know was, all of 2020 and maybe the first half of 2021 or first 3 quarters, at this point where we are in the timeline of the pandemic, I mean, it doesn't make sense for Nintendo to be so secretive for so long. Why would they space Directs out so incredibly far? The last one they had was in February, and it was a freaking awesome Direct, man. That was a great Nintendo Direct, and now it's summertime. Everyone else is doing stuff because there's no E3. Why wouldn't Nintendo come full force with some of their big stuff? We know they have things to talk about. We know that Splatoon is coming, and Xenoblade, of course, is next month, and they had a Direct, and, what about games like Mario and Rabbids? What about games like Bayonetta 3? What about other big surprises? Rumors about a Zelda game. Are we going to get the Metroid Prime trilogy? Like, I talked about Metroid in the next Direct in my last video. They've got to start talking about some of these things, man, and even give us some Zelda stuff. Like, it's, whether you're giving us Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ports or something more about Breath of the Wild 2, Nintendo has to be sitting on some big and exciting information to share. So it's like if they weren't going to do it in June, I would have to think July, man. They can't make us wait from February to September, right? I just think that would be... I mean, they can, but I just don't, I say they can't in the sense that it wouldn't really be smart business, right? Like, they need to keep the hype train rolling. That's what Nintendo Directs do for themselves. And so now we consider this Nintendo Direct partner presentation. Nate brings up a good point. Nintendo definitely could have a presence and show like one specific big trailer or reveal of a first-party game in a third-party Direct. Absolutely. Like, there's no rules that says Nintendo can't also play a part in the show. But he's throwing around the term Nintendo Direct mini partner presentation. If that's what it is, the track record is really poor for those. And so until we see it, I would be very nervous about it. Maybe they blow us away and they're like, hey, we've finally figured out how to make these things good. And so, maybe it would be good even if that's what it is. But if they confirm this as a partner presentation, I think it's going to take the wind out of a lot of sales. And it definitely will for me. But I will also still tune in to wait and see if it actually surprises me and if Nintendo has some kind of big thing to show there. Maybe that's when they talk about a Prime 1 remake or a Prime Trilogy remaster or the Zelda games getting ported in HD or something. I mean, anything is possible. I just really hope it's not a Direct focused on third parties, and I really hope it's not billed as a partner presentation because, again, I think that name carries a negative stigma. So I don't know. Maybe Nintendo doesn't have a big answer for everyone right now. We might have to wait a little bit longer. So these are just my thoughts on the news and the discussion and the article that was coming out this morning and that has a few people talking. Potentially a very big deal. So what do you guys think about my breakdown, and what are your own thoughts and desires for this whole Nintendo Direct thing? June 29th for a regular Direct, third-party partner presentation. What is it going to be? What do you actually want? And how do you feel? Talk about it below. With that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on another video. Bye-bye.